My name is Grace Gill and I will be your MC this afternoon. Just a quick reminder, if you haven't already placed a business card in the back bag for the Lucky Door prize, please do so. And I also realise everyone needs to get back to work promptly after this lunch today, so we're on a fairly strict time schedule. I don't usually interrupt the coach or the CEO, but in the case of today, I'm willing to do so. I'd like to rewind about 12 months when I stood here before you in this same position as a W League Premiership winning team member with Canberra United. This year, things didn't go quite to plan. This year, and for the first time in 5 years, Canberra United didn't make the top 4 and thus finals of the W League. This year, we let games slip, conceding goals in literally the dying seconds of a match. This year, I personally played the least amount of games over the season and found myself with injury upon injury. However, I am a firm believer that from every negative you can find a positive. And I assure you that there are many positives to come out of this year's Canberra United season. This year, Canberra United sold 229 memberships, which is the most the club or any other club has ever seen. This year, Hayley Russo, a young and unassuming speedster, developed into one of the most threatening and dangerous strikers the W League has ever seen. This year, Nicole Sykes, a once shy and timid left-back, finished the season as an award-winning, powerful and impenetrable defender. She's now looking to play overseas. And joining her in this pursuit of international experience is captain Ellie Brush and midfielder Jenny Bissett. This year, local girls, the likes of Gracie Field, Catherine Brown, Sally Rojan, all saw game time after finding their inclusion in the squad. This year, our sponsorship continued and expanded. As females in sport, we cling onto this support so gratefully. The value of investing in women's sporting teams is significantly underrated, and with Canberra United leading the way of professionalism in the W League, we offer an impressive stage for marketing. However, as I said, this year things didn't go quite to plan for us. This year, the girls truly experienced what it felt like to lose. We felt defeat, and at times, we personally felt defeated. But from this, and most importantly, we learnt to rebuild. We took lessons of humility, and I'm proud of the fact that Canberra United, in both success and defeat, have always remained humble. As women in sport, as women in business, we will continue to support and thrive off each other. I strongly believe that this will only result in positive and successful outcomes. On that note, thank you again for being here today and for supporting this event. I would like to introduce you to University Vice-Chancellor, Professor Stephen Parker.
Thank you, Grace, and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another Women in Business and Sport lunch here at the University of Canberra. I'd like to begin, as we try always to do when we have guests on campus, which is acknowledge that the land we're meeting on is land of which the Ngunnawal people are the traditional custodians, and I extend my respects to their elders, past and present. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Senator Kate Lundy, patron of Canberra United and Minister for Sport, and a regular visitor to this university. I should also acknowledge the presence of Sue Salthouse, a member of the University of Canberra Council. Welcome to Heather Reid, CEO of Capital Football and Canberra United, whom you'll be hearing from shortly. Welcome to fellow sponsors of Canberra United, to members of the media, to my colleagues, and to all of you who are here today to support women and business and sport. I'd like to acknowledge also the presence of Robin Polk, whom many of you will know. Robin is a distinguished alumnus of the university and was recognised in the Australia Day Honours just last weekend. Congratulations, Robin. UC is proud of its sponsorship of Canberra United and pleased to be continuing it. Our strategic goal is to be the leading university in sport-related scholarship and research. And we do this in our sports disciplines, through our National Institute for Sports Studies, and through various disciplines that can be applied to sport, such as physiotherapy, nutrition, informatics, and so on. As you may know, we are committed to building a sports hub or sporting commons just over the road from here. And this is a partnership between the university, the Brumbies and the ACT government, and we're hoping to develop that into a larger enterprise, and we're hoping that it'll involve a good number of elite and community sports. Our links with Capital Football go beyond sponsoring Canberra United. We host the Kanga Cup, we engage in research collaboration, and we have mutually beneficial internship opportunities for our students. And our commitment to sport now is so extensive that I can't, in a brief welcome speech, describe it all, but we're proud to be a member of the Elite Athlete Friendly Universities organised by the AIS. We have about 70 elite athletes registered amongst our students, which for our size is the most of any university in the country. Our students and staff won 14 medals at last year's Olympics and Paralympics, and I'm very pleased that you'll be hearing later from our colleague, Dr. Sue Powell, ACT Sports Athlete of the Year. So congratulations to Canberra United. I know the season has had its disappointments, as you've heard, but that's how it goes at the elite level. The other soccer team that I support, my Premier League team, last won a trophy in the same month when the Beatles released their last album, Abbey Road. And I know you'll bounce back more quickly than that. In fact, last month, they just bought 5 more French players, so they're sort of defecting across the channel altogether. Now it's desperate. Yesterday, I had my Canberra United shirt and shorts framed and hung on my office wall. That's the 2011-2012 one. The shorts are slightly out of alignment, which gives you a sort of flexible, supple look, and I look forward to many future seasons with a similar framed shirt and shorts. So thank you to those who made this lunch possible, including the guest speakers, whose stories are bound to inspire us. I look forward to working with you all to make Canberra a great sporting city and the university a great sporting academy. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. I'd like to welcome Heather Reid to welcome guests and present Stephen Parker with another framed shorts.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you very much, everybody, and welcome to Senator Kate Lundy, Federal Minister for Sport and also our patron for Canberra United, and to Professor Stephen Parker, Vice-Chancellor, and to all other distinguished guests. Last year, of course, I had the trophy up here, and as Grace has pointed out, we didn't have such a successful season as we would have liked in terms of results, but nonetheless, this past season was certainly a success in many other ways, including, as Grace mentioned, the increase in members, the increase in sponsorship, the increase in support. And another first that we're very proud of, we're always proud of our firsts in Canberra United, the first team to represent Australia in the World Club Championship in Japan, which is a tremendous honour and a great experience for all the players. And so now Sydney FC, who won the final last weekend, they will represent Australia at the next World Club Championship next November. So that trip in November also possibly had a little bit of an impact on our performance during the season, but we're not going to use that as an excuse for missing out on the semi-finals. This W League season was the toughest and the highest quality ever. The W League is maturing to the point where so many international players, high-quality international players, are now joining various teams, including the England Player of the Year, who happens to be the Welsh captain, Jess Fishlock, who played for Melbourne as a marquee player. And if Jess doesn't win the player of the league, then I'd be quite surprised. But within our own ranks, we missed Lydia Williams, who was a goalkeeper of the year last season. We didn't quite see the full benefits of Sally Shippard in midfield, who's still struggling with injury. And it's probably fair to say that the leading goal scorer from the previous season, Michelle Heyman, played a slightly different role this year and was really heavily marked in most of the matches and didn't quite get her straps in most of the games. But on a really other positive note, players like Michelle Heyman are now going to stay in Canberra and work hard and want to improve and do better for next season. And I think that's the guts of the whole team. We have a culture and a commitment and a consistency in our team that will take us through to many more seasons, and hopefully we're back with the trophy on the table beside me. It's great to see so many friends and colleagues. I am a graduate of the University of Canberra. I'm a former lecturer here as well, and I love this place, and I love the support that we get from the University of Canberra for Capital Football and for Canberra United. We had our annual presentation last week at the Tradies Club, and we recognised the Tradies Club as a key sponsor of ours as well. So all of our major sponsors received a frame shirt. But the University of Canberra is the short sponsor, hopefully for a long time, not a short time, but Stephen and his colleagues weren't able to make it, so thank you very much. Also recognise Loop and the Rock Development Group as our front of shirt sponsors. The ACT government, and of course Canberra 100 this year, the ACT government continues to be the only government in Australia that has a fund for supporting teams in national leagues, and that gives us a major kickstart when it comes to putting the team on the park. We also welcomed the Australian Federal Police. The AFP came on board this year as a program partner, and we were delighted with their support. And also we acknowledge the role that the ABC does in promoting and profiling the W League. From a personal point of view, I think it's absolutely fantastic that we can see our games free to air on ABC every Saturday afternoon during the season, as we can see the basketball, and I'm sure Carrie Graff, who's here today, welcome Carrie. We also recognise the importance of that TV coverage for promotion of women in sport. Some Business United partners. It's a pretty easy, low-hanging fruit kind of thing to get involved in if you want to be a sponsor of Canberra United. The business partners, we welcome back RSM Bird Cameron and the Sports Hydrant, Capital Trophies, and our newest partner, the first law firm to support women in sport, Goodman Law, and we'll hear from Nithya today about their role. So thank you very much to Goodman Law. I'll come back later. We were going to be welcoming Maria F. Kapitas to say a few words, but she's unfortunately now not able to join us, so I'll say a few more words at the end. And I'd like to welcome and introduce Senator Kate Lundy to now say a few words.
Thank you very much, Heather. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we're gathered and pay my respects to their elders past and present. To Heather, thank you very much for the invitation again today to this important event. I'd also like to acknowledge Stephen Parker, the University of Canberra Vice-Chancellor, and Robin Poke. Where are you, Robin? Congratulations on your honour. It's lovely to have you here. Distinguished guests all, it's a pleasure to come along today and address this forum because we are so fortunate here in Canberra to have a community that is motivated and engaged with the sport that women play. We are, of course, blessed with sensational role models, not least being Lauren Jackson, who was the flag bearer, no less, for the Australian Olympic team in London this year. And also we have in our own wonderful Canberra United team a group of women who are inspiring the next generation of young women and girls to take up sport. I speak as a parent in this regard as well, and forever grateful to Capital Football for the effort they put in with their constituent clubs to ensure a genuine pathway for young women, particularly adolescents, like my daughter, who made the transition from junior to seniors, and at one point that was gravely at risk. So the practical work that you're putting in, supporting young women to make that transition through from juniors to seniors within the sport of football, can I, as a parent, thank you and your constituent clubs, because I don't think my daughter would have kept playing sport if that effort hadn't been made. And frankly, this is really what sport is all about. We invest as a government in sport because we see an incredible social and economic dividend. And when you break it all down, it is about keeping Australians active. It is about leveraging the platform that sport provides for social inclusion and that sense of belonging. And it is about sustaining and creating wonderful heroes that keep this cycle of participation and engagement going. And that's where our teams like Canberra United, like the Canberra Capitals, like the Meteors, and looking at our national teams in an Olympic year and a Paralympic year, those role models become so critical. So in many respects, we're a role model city for the rest of Australia, in part because of the success of our own teams, but also because within our community we do have a very engaged business and sports network that's already active and functioning. And your presence here today, ladies and gentlemen, is testimony to that. I'm coming up on 1 year as Federal Sports Minister. Last year when I addressed you, I wasn't, but I was nonetheless quite engaged and quite ecstatic about the performance of Canberra United, as Heather said, a great year last year. A character building year this year, I think, for everybody. And true to form, this is why sport is so engaging, because you just don't know the way things go, and despite the best effort, outcomes do change. And part of being a great sports person is being able to manage and cope and keep the spirits up and rally round when success is not as easy to find. I feel a bit the same way in government, I can tell you. It's always a challenge. And as the Federal Sports Minister, I do feel like I have the best job in the world. And in doing so, I intend not to squander that time. And I'd just like to run through a couple of things that we've been able to do over the last 12 months. What we have seen is, in a number of sports, women appointed to boards for the first time, beginning the journey to, hopefully, beginning what will no doubt be a relatively steady journey to equality. But we saw both cricket, rugby union and swimming all have women appointed to their boards for the first time in 2012. And only yesterday, Hockey Australia announced the appointment of both Sandra Sully and Tracy Scott to their board, bringing the total to 4. At the Prime Minister's 11 on Tuesday, I introduced Australia's newest ICC Hall of Fame member, Belinda Clark, former captain, of course, of the Australian women's cricket team, to the Prime Minister. And Belinda has the role, as many of you will know, as the CEO of the Cricket Australia High Performance Centre in Brisbane. There's never going to be a point in my life where I'm not going to talk about the sport that women play. So I want to take this opportunity, speaking to all of you, to encourage you to leverage the programs that we have available to support women in leadership positions across the area of sport. Part of that is highlighting the importance of working together. Now, I think this is where Canberra is really strong, and we can see by the panel today and the sponsors that Heather has announced that our business community is truly engaged, and I want to thank you for that. But part of it is because, frankly, you put your money where your mouth is, or your money where your passion is. And for women's sport, this is quite often the very first practical step that business can play. And making that decision to invest through a sponsorship in the sport that women play is the beginning of, probably not the beginning, a tangible way to express what is often a lifelong commitment and passion. To encourage more women on boards and more women in senior management positions, more women running high performance programs, more broadcast deals for women's sport, we need to continue encouraging and supporting each other. This isn't just about women either, this is about men and the role that we play collectively in promoting the sport that women play. Sadly, we know we still need to convince those directors of sport within our broadcast networks that there is value in this content. We've seen some progress. Sometimes I feel like it's one step forward, 2 steps backwards. But I think the evidence through the course of an Olympic and Paralympic year, and we've just come out of the Australian Open, it is irrefutable that content of the sport that women play is not only in demand, but it's some of the most popular content that we see on television, and well produced and high production values. It attracts an extraordinary audience. So I still don't get what the problem is. Through attending functions, supporting each other, seizing business opportunities, constantly surveying the opportunities in the sponsorship landscape for the sport that women play helps to build up that commercial case. And as part of the Gillard government, I'm certainly working to try and address these issues with respect to the promotion of the sport that women play. In November last year, the government launched Board Links, a very proactive initiative to support more Australian women into leadership positions, including increasing female representation at board level. And one of my first actions as the Minister for Sport was announcing the latest round of the Sport Leadership Grants and Scholarships for Women. These grants are between $5,000 and $10,000 and are available to assist you to undertake accredited sport leadership training in the areas of coaching, officiating, governance, administration, management, communications, media and marketing. In fact, whatever pretty much takes your fancy, we're able to support you with these scholarships. Since its inception back in 2002, the grant has supported more than 20,000 women, with total funding exceeding $3.7 million. In addition, through the establishment of the Women's Unit at the Sports Commission, we will be providing further avenues to promote the commercialisation of women's sport. And I would encourage you to take advantage of these programs. I don't think any of us will stop working towards a fairer environment for the sport that women play. And today I'd like to conclude by once again acknowledging the work of many people in this room, not least both Heather Reid and Carrie Graff and the businesswomen here who have made those decisions, the businessmen here have made those decisions to back women's sport in. It's been an extraordinary 12 months of achievement, of highs and lows for the sport that we love. And finally, to Canberra United, congratulations on a tough season, on a great outcome in the sense that we've heard about increases in sponsorship, the fact that we're able to retain and sustain our great players, and I look forward to continuing, if you'll have me, as your very proud patron and fly the flag for football for young women in this town. So thank you for having me here today. I can't stay for all of the lunch. I have to head off to Sydney. But congratulations again, and thank you very much for having me here.
Our first speaker for today is Charlotte Anneveld. Charlotte started playing cricket at the age of 13 and leading into her high school team. She was selected in a New South Wales schoolgirls team to tour the UK and Ireland alongside a boys New South Wales team that included current Australian captain Michael Clarke. She went on to captain the championship title, winning New South Wales under-17 and under-19 teams. She was a member of the New South Wales Breakers for 9 seasons, where she won 5 National Cricket League and during off-season. Charlotte has been a member of the ACT Media's team for the past 4 seasons and has been part of the T20 World Cup and Australian squads. She also played for Australia A against England. With a Bachelor of PDHPE, Charlotte worked as a teacher for 4 years in Sydney. She currently works for Cricket ACT as Sponsorship and Events Manager. Please welcome Charlotte Anneveld.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. What a fantastic event to be a part of. Let me start by providing you with some history about myself and my career to date. Growing up in Sydney and attending an all-girls school, I decided to try my hand at everything. Well, except netball. The referee was always calling contact. This may have been the catalyst for my love-hate relationship with referees and umpires. Anyway, tennis was one sport that played an integral role in my early years, and I spent quite a substantial amount of time travelling around the country, playing in different tournaments. As I got older and began high school, I started playing cricket. And it wasn't long before I needed to make a decision about which sport I was going to continue to play, and hopefully at the elite level. Tennis or cricket? To me, the choice was easy, although my parents thought I should stick with tennis as there was more money involved. Cricket being a team sport, a sport I was passionate about, a sport where you can experience the highs and lows with teammates, support staff, and of course the consumer. My decision was easily made. I quickly made my way into the New South Wales system, where I had the privilege of touring overseas to the UK, a tour that Michael Clarke, the current Australian captain, was also a part of. We went undefeated on this tour, and 2 years later, I was also invited to captain the same team on a tour to South Africa, one of the most picturesque countries to play cricket with in the world. Coming through the ranks in New South Wales, I was soon given the honour of captaining New South Wales under-17s and 19s, whilst also playing and captaining Gordon in the Sydney grade competition for 16 years. These experiences have provided me with many fantastic memories and given me tremendous personal pride in terms of achievement. I've been thrilled to be seen as a leader and be able to contribute to creating a positive team culture within all teams I've been a part of. After finishing school, I studied part-time gaining a Bachelor of Personal Development, Health and Physical Education, whilst spending 6 months of the year playing county cricket in England. This continued for 5 years until my finances ran out and when I felt I needed a bit more stability in my life looking forward. During these 5 years and gaining experience in the way teams go about their business in a different country, 2 things really stood out to me: culture and passion. Integral not only in a sporting environment, but a work one too. These 2 attributes, a positive culture and passion of the members, I believe are the key to success of any sporting team, department or work environment. I've been fortunate enough to be involved in many Australian sporting squads and teams at the highest level in cricket, making my debut for Australia A in 2004, as well as winning 5 WNCL titles with New South Wales. Particularly at the elite level, culture and passion are paramount and are often the motivation for one to keep striving for success. This now brings me to ACT, where 4 years ago I began playing for the Meteors. After 2 years of travel up that Hume Highway, I took the plunge and moved to Canberra. And those that know me well will understand what a big move this was for me. I have, however, embraced Canberra as Canberra has embraced me. And I now feel that this is my home. I immediately started working for Cricket ACT as a development officer, and a little over 12 months, I've managed to move up the ranks to the role of sponsorship and events manager. Now, it's possible that they just gave me the job because I like to chat, love organising all the staff, and meeting new people. But I like to think it's because of my passion and commitment to my work and my ability to work with people to achieve a common goal in a positive environment. I guess my take-home message today comes back to those 2 words that connect sport and the business environment: culture and passion. For me, if you don't have these, then you cannot easily create a positive environment, and it's even harder to achieve your goals. Growing up playing sport has shown me how integral a positive team culture is to success. We don't necessarily all have to like each other or be best friends, but we must respect each other, recognise each other's strengths, and work together in a positive way if we want our team or business to move forward and flourish. We need to engage with all members of the team, accepting the diversity of personalities that may exist within our teams, whether we're in the office or on the sporting field. We also need to ensure people are accountable for their actions, and as a leader, we must set the standard high and always lead by example. In my current role at Cricket ACT, my department is made up of 1, so of course we have a positive culture. Passion is the other word I like to use that connects sport and business. And if you ask anyone I have ever played sport with or worked with, I hope I am known as one of the most passionate team members going around. You can bet the umpires will definitely attest to this. If you enjoy what you do, you will continuously aim high and always strive to do well. Passion makes the hard things bearable, even fun to do, and the fun things more exciting. The reward of achieving your goals then drives your passion and motivates you to do more. I have also become a passionate Canberran and am immensely proud to have been intimately involved with the organisation of the first ever sporting match under lights at Manuka Oval, the Prime Minister's 11, held only 3 days ago. It was a huge success and a fantastic team effort, and I enjoyed sharing this experience with many other passionate Canberrans and work colleagues. In particular, it was a great privilege to witness the involvement and support of 2 exceptional women who continue to show us all what great models they are for women in sport and business in this country. I, of course, talk about Prime Minister Julia Gillard and Senator Kate Lundy. In closing, I am fortunate that my transition from an elite athlete to the business sector has been a smooth one. Helped greatly by the skills and attributes I developed coming through the sporting ranks, in particular those involving team culture, passion and leadership. I'm grateful for the opportunities and experiences I have had, and I am now looking forward to stepping up the business ladder and organising other major events. Maybe one day I'll be managing multi-billion-dollar sporting portfolios such as Canberra United and travelling the world. Well, hopefully anyway. Thank you for your time and attention, and I wish you all well in your future endeavours.
Thanks, Charlotte. We'll let you know when Canberra United becomes a multi-million-dollar endeavour. I'd now like to introduce Nithya Sambasibam. Nithya graduated from ANU with a Bachelor of Commerce and Bachelor of Laws in 2007 and a graduate diploma in legal practice in 2008. She was admitted as a solicitor in 2008 and has worked in the areas of corporate law and commercial litigation. At Goodman Law, Nithya specialises in commercial and corporate matters. Nithya's professional achievements include being a member of the ACT Law Society's Dispute Resolution Committee. When she joined the committee in 2010, she was the only young lawyer member. On behalf of that committee, she convened a seminar aimed at educating young lawyers about alternative dispute resolution processes in the ACT. In 2012, she was named the ACT Law Society Young Lawyer of the Year for her professional achievements and community involvement in the Canberra region. Nithya is also president of the Women Lawyers Association of the ACT, where she has reintroduced mentor breakfast seminars to connect young lawyers with senior practitioners and conducted the first junior lawyers' pay and conditions survey. She has been on the boards of several local companies as both director and company secretary, where she has gained a greater appreciation for the mechanics of running small to medium businesses. In addition to her professional pursuits, Nithya is a member of the YWCA of Canberra. Please welcome Nithya.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The perspective I'm coming from is perhaps a little different to the women in sport here today, but I do think that women lawyers and women in sport have something in common: competition, which is really what I want to talk about today. In many ways, as we get older, women are often discouraged from being competitive, from not playing sports, from not pursuing the hard jobs. From time to time, one runs into the somewhat antiquated notion that competition isn't really for women. However, for me, as I imagine for many of you, it's hard to contemplate a life without it. As a teenager, I delighted in playing just about every sport. However, I could describe my favourites, much to the concern of my parents, as pretty much any sport where they gave girls sticks. Hockey, lacrosse and tennis were a couple of favourites. And there's no denying that sport teaches children an important life lesson, that competition is character building. Winning is great, but losing is valuable too. Competition encourages us to be brave and ultimately to better our performance, whether you win or lose. And it gets easier the more we do it. Legal life has really only reiterated this for me. I have two brief examples that I'd like to share with you. I joined the Women Lawyers Association of the ACT about a year into my working life. Somewhat awed by the women that I met on the Women Lawyers Committee, I was terribly green but determined to take a more active role within the organisation. And it was worth it. For me, the Women Lawyers has been an unparalleled and truly edifying opportunity. I've met judges, barristers and solicitors from all over Australia and built stronger links with colleagues here in Canberra. I became president of the Women Lawyers mid-last year, and I'm now looking forward to a busy schedule of events, advocacy, policy and networking in 2013, with a great committee and an active membership. I have also sat on the boards of some local companies as both director and company secretary. Despite having studied commerce and law at university, this hands-on experience gave me valuable insight into the mechanics of business life. Fortune certainly favours a competitive spirit, and what I've learned about participation, teamwork and leadership from these experiences is no doubt something I will continue to draw upon in both my personal and professional life. I think I've been lucky so early in my career to have found firms such as Goodman Law that actively buck the trend in terms of their willingness not only to support the competitive drive of professional women, but to appreciate what those women contribute to them in return. I'm also starting to learn a little at Goodman Law about the business side of the practice. The management of the firm is predominantly women, and this is something that is no doubt reflected in things like the deliberate effort that goes into developing our team's quite varied interests and strengths, and contrary to the notion that I mentioned earlier, in keeping us as a firm competitive. But competition isn't important only in work. While I don't now play as many sports as I used to, I found it crucial in staying active and happy in my adult life. It pushes me to turn a leisurely jog into running that last kilometre as fast as I can, or doing one last set of push-ups. But perhaps the best example is that a few years ago, and quite on a whim, I decided to try reggaeton. For those of you who might not know, reggaeton is a sort of hybrid dance style influenced by hip-hop, dancehall and samba. It took me well outside my comfort zone, and I've never felt quite so uncoordinated as when I first started. But it still remains the best cardio I do and a fun weekly activity that I share with friends. It's pretty clear to me that women soccer players, women senators, or women lawyers aren't created in a vacuum. For example, I was extremely humbled last year to receive the award for ACT Young Lawyer of the Year. I like to think of it as an endorsement of a competitive spirit, but more than anything, an acknowledgement of my colleagues, friends and family who have always encouraged that spirit in the women they know. Competition touches on so many aspects of our lives that we owe it to be competitive, to push, to be brave and better ourselves in whatever we do. It's certainly been my and Goodman Law's pleasure to be part of an event that celebrates such a spirit in women's lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nithya. I would now like to introduce Dr. Susan Powell. Susan Powell is a research fellow at the University of Canberra's Institute for Applied Ecology with a Bachelor's of Applied Science, a Master's and PhD of Environmental Science. Last year, Sue won the ACT Sports Star of the Year award for her achievements as a cyclist at the 2012 London Paralympic Games. Sue became a Paralympic champion by claiming Australia's first gold medal in the C4 3-kilometre individual pursuit, as well as breaking the world record when qualifying for the event. She then went on to top off her performance with a silver medal in the C4 time trial. In 2007, Sue suffered a spinal cord injury playing hockey, which left her with permanent nerve damage that affected the movement in her right leg. She initially began cycling to improve her fitness for hockey, but after the hockey accident, she found she could still participate in cycling and surprised herself by qualifying for the Australian paracycling team in 2009. Since then, she has won 4 world championships in road and track events and is the current world champion in both road race and road time trial. Sue manages her research with training through the ACT Academy of Sport, which involves riding for up to 4 hours a day, as well as 2 gym sessions a week. Well, please welcome Sue Powell.
Well, thank you. I still get a little bit amazed when I hear that. I still sometimes can't quite believe it. And you know, sometimes I feel like I'm just invited to these things because of the bling. So I did actually bring the bling along, and if anyone would like to have a look, you're more than welcome to. And I do find myself also overwhelmed by the response that we've had from London and the support for the Paralympics. And I'm sorry if I get emotional, because I do still get emotional about the whole journey, and I wanted to share that journey to London with you today. And some of the things I think that were really critical to my success, which when I look back on it, you know, at the time I didn't realise that. But I'd say at the outset that, you know, I'm not one of those people that set out to be a world champion, and I never imagined I'd do a PhD. My life really has been about looking for things that I find challenging and rewarding and satisfying. And, you know, I actually envy some of these people who started swimming at the age of 8 with this vision to go to the Olympics and swim for Australia, and, you know, persisted for years and years. You know, I find that amazing. But, you know, for me it wasn't like that. Sport has always been my main social outlet. I'm not much of a pub or club person, but I always loved being out there with teammates playing hockey or golf, or I used to ski when I was a kid. And I think I've played just about every mainstream sport, and a lot of it was just for that social enjoyment and also for the challenge. Once I start something, I sort of want to see if I can do it better. I just can't help myself. And that's really what motivated me once I acquired a disability. It took a while to accept it and to deal with some of the limitations, but, you know, I look at some of my friends who've had babies, and I reckon that their lives changed a lot more than mine did. And I admire people who continue in high-level sport or high-level work careers with kids. I think, you know, I think that's an amazing thing to achieve. But anyway, I took up cycling, and I took it up to get fit and to get involved and to continue to do things I enjoyed doing with people I really enjoyed being with. And it was also a challenge. And one of the biggest challenges I found was that I wanted to keep up with the girls that had 2 good legs, you know, and I wanted to see if I could match them on the hills. And got a great friend here, Kerry Nola, and she still drops me on every hill, but I still try my hardest to keep up with her. And, you know, I think that trying to keep up, that led me to, I guess, get involved in paracycling, because I was really curious as to, you know, how would I match up against somebody with a limitation similar to mine? You know, would I match it? Was I actually competitive? And I went away to my first Australian Paralympic National Championships, basically to find that out. And also I thought, oh, there's all these young kids and they're really not a lot of people to compete against, so I'd go along and give them someone to beat. So I was really blown away when I actually made and qualified for my first Australian team at the age of 40. You know, you just don't imagine those things happening at that point in time. So I went away and I actually won a world championship, and I was like, wow, how'd that happen? So I kept on training hard, and I was sort of convinced that I wasn't going to make the next team because of my age, you know, so I had to keep doing PBs, and doing personal bests when you're 40-something is not that easy. You've got to keep pushing yourself, you've got to keep finding new ways to challenge yourself. And again, it's that challenge of trying to just do it better, to train harder. And I kept on doing that. During this time, I was doing my PhD, as we mentioned, and I found that was great for a few years. It was plenty of time to train, plenty of time to travel, got to challenge myself mentally and explore some of the areas of environmental science that I was quite passionate about. But then, you know, one day I actually realised I was off scholarship. There was no more money. I was running out of time. So probably the hardest 6 months, and I won't describe it like I did recently because I think, is Professor Parker still here? Yes. So it was just one of the hardest things I've ever done. I found it really, really challenging. Trying to pull all these ideas together and write this thesis, this big book. And you know, you want it to be really, really good. But in the end, I stumbled across the finish line and managed to put the pieces together and finally graduated in 2011. And, you know, that's another achievement that I thought I would never do, and I'm really quite proud to get over the line. Anyway, I'm not sure how I'm going for time, but I'll move on to 2012 because something that happened, everything had been going great, and then I went away to a track world championships, and I struggled. In cycling terms, I was creeping. My legs were dead. I just couldn't make it happen. The harder I tried, the slower I went. It was awful. And I went away to the championships and, you know, lost the world championship to another young Australian girl, and, you know, all credit to her. But for me, the disappointment was about not doing PBs, not even close to PBs. And, you know, at 44, I started to think, well, maybe that was it. You know, I'd had my fun and it was all over. And, you know, I think that's when I realised that I actually wanted to go to London. It was the first time I'd actually had a goal and a dream that I didn't even know I had. And when I thought maybe that wasn't going to happen, you know, I actually wanted it more. So I returned to Canberra and to my coach, Glenn Donny, who was fantastic. He worked really hard to build my confidence up again. And he probably was one of the few people who knew how close I was to giving up at that point, and I think Kerry probably knows too. I went on also to have some routine medical checks, and we found that I had some more spine deterioration, was causing some nerve impingement, and it actually explained quite a lot of the feelings I'd had on the bike and the inability to really put that power down. But it was actually good because we could manage that. We changed the gym program. You know, we worked about how to ride the bike without putting pressure on my lower spine, and things started to turn around. I started to believe in myself again. And I think, you know, without going through all that, I don't think I would have done as well in London as I did, because I came home and we trained hard. I thought I trained hard when I played hockey for ACT, and I thought I worked hard when I finished my PhD. But man, I've never worked so hard in my life. I've just found this whole new level that in 40 odd years I never knew I had. And yeah, we just took it. And it was about this time that the people were starting to count down to London. They were starting to Twitter, 99 days to go, 98 days to go. And, you know, I found a great quote by Muhammad Ali at that time, and you probably heard it, don't count the days, make the days count. And that became my motto. So every day, I just woke up, did what I had to do, 100%. Training, nutrition, recovery. And also I worked really hard mentally to get my head around the space that I wanted to go to London and do the best I could. I didn't care about medals anymore. I didn't care about who was going to be there, what they were going to do. For me, it was about me and about doing the best I could possibly do and coming home knowing that I'd done that. And during that time also, I should mention that I took up a position with the University of Canberra, and they were fantastic. They took me on knowing I could only work part-time. I had a lot of leave, a lot of travel, and they supported me all the way, and it was great to be given that opportunity, and also to know that I had a job when I came back from London to go on to was fantastic. And I think working that 2 or 3 days a week in the lead-up was also critical because it gave your mind a chance just to switch off from the sport. You give so much to it. If you do it all day, every day, it starts to actually become too much. So that also was very important for me. So, done all the hard work, we get to London, day one. Walk up for the morning qualifying of the pursuit. Wow, I was terrified. You can't believe how scary that velodrome was. There were 7,000 people. I've never been in front of more than a couple of hundred, and the noise was deafening. So I actually kept my head down. I didn't look up. I put my earphones in. I read my motivational book. I warmed up just like I'd done every other day at training. And I tried to pretend I wasn't at the London Paralympic Games. And it worked. You know, all that hard work, everything I'd done, finally on the day, I actually nailed everything we'd worked at. For the first time, I actually got it all right on the one time, on the day. And I went out there and I did my PB and I broke a world record. And you know, I think even if the other girls had gone faster and I hadn't gone into that gold medal final, so pursuit, you qualify and then you go to a final, I think I would have come home happy with that. And although I wouldn't probably be talking to you today if I didn't have a gold medal, you know, that to me was what it was all about, was that personal satisfaction of actually doing your best. But I did go on and win the gold medal, and I went on to do personal bests in every other event that I raced in. And, you know, it was just fantastic. And I also should just briefly mention that you don't do any of this, and I think all the sports people and business people here know that you don't do any of this without an amazing support crew behind you. And the staff at the Australian Paralympic Committee and the AIS and ACT Academy of Sport, my coach, and some of the funding bodies, you know, none of this would have happened without all of that support. So anyway, I'm back working full time, and I was going to retire, but hey, you know, I'm not quite ready to do that yet. I'm the current world champion on the road and road race and road time trial, and there's a world championship in August in Canada. It's on a hilly course, which doesn't suit me at all. And as I said, I'm back working full time, so it's, geez, I like a challenge. So the challenge is this year to go away to Canada and give it a crack. And, you know, hopefully I just continue to love riding my bike. Hopefully it'll be good fun, and whatever the result, you know, I think I'll be satisfied that I've given it my best shot. So thanks again for having me today, and as I said, if anyone wants to come and have a rub a bit more gold off the medal, you're more than welcome to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. So your story is truly inspiring. We were going to do a Q&A with Heather Reid and Maria Efkapitis, but unfortunately Maria is unable to join us today. So I'm going to introduce Heather Reid. As most of you know, Heather Reid has been instrumental in forming, developing and promoting opportunities for women and girls in sport and physical activity, predominantly football, since 1978. She has worked in management and consultancy positions for non-government and government organisations and was a lecturer in sport management at the University of Canberra up until the early 2000s. Since 2004, Heather has been the CEO of the ACT Football Federation Capital Football, with 18,000 male and female players in outdoor and futsal leagues, and she is her 5th year wearing a second hat as CEO of Canberra United, which is a benchmark club in the Westfield W League. She is the only female in such positions and is the longest-serving CEO within the Football Australia's family. Her induction into the FFA Hall of Fame in 2007 serves as a key time in her career. Heather has a graduate diploma in sport management and is a graduate of the Australian Institute of Company Directors. She is on the board of the Asian Cup 2015 Local Organising Committee, which is headed up by FFA and Asian Cup Chairman, Mr. Frank Lowy. As Canberra will host 6 games for that tournament, Heather's input is going to be very valuable at that time.
Thank you very much. I just want to take this opportunity to recognise a few more people and say a few words in closing for me personally. Maria F. Kapitas from Rock Development Group and also the owners of Loop Precinct at the Belconnen and Fresh Food Markets unfortunately couldn't be with us today. Just last minute she's got some work commitments. But she was practising her answers on the questions that I sent her about how did she get involved in her business, and of course it's a family business that she's involved in, and she started as on the shop floor of a ShopRite that her uncle Tom F. Kapitas started, Cannons and ShopRite. And I also asked her a question about she's now the sponsorship and marketing manager and a director of the family company. But I was going to ask her a question about her sport and her physical activity involvement. And apparently she was practising her answers with her children last night, and they just laughed at her in the answers, and because they knew that she was actually a very naughty student at school, so they didn't believe what she was saying about sport. Anyway. One important group that I forgot to mention this morning is the Australian Institute of Sport, and I'd like to recognise Deb and the team that have provided Canberra United with a home this year, and I hope that that relationship continues on into the future. Thank you very much. I also want to acknowledge the work of Jennifer and Alicia from University of Canberra, and we'll present them with a small gift, and the team that you've helped put this together, thank you. And to Emma from RSM Bird and Leanna from Goodman Law, thanks for your help today. We heard the speakers talk about passion, culture, competition, determination, challenge. Everybody in the room, I'm sure, has a sense of all of those values and elements, and I was certainly inspired by the speakers, so thank you for being able to share your journeys and stories with us. And Kate Lundy mentioned the importance of collaboration in Canberra and what we do within the sporting environment, and we work together in the summer of women's sport with the cricket ACT and basketball ACT with the Meteors and Canberra United and the Capitals. So I really want to acknowledge how important it is to work together rather than, trying to compete with each other. I guess what I'd like to do is also acknowledge 2 other fine women in the room. Catherine Ordway, who was on the board of Capital Football and heading up our disciplinary tribunal, a terrific role model, and a true board member, Kate Inman, who is just going to take a few minutes to talk to you about an extension of what this wonderful month of women in sport means and talk about Sport for Women Day. So, Director of Capital Football, Kate Inman.
Thank you, Heather. I did about a few minutes because it's a bit impromptu, so probably more like 30 seconds. But I just want to say thank you, Heather, for... Where is she? Thank you, Heather, for being a great mentor and also giving me the opportunity to sit on the board of Capital Football. It's been an interesting few months and it's also been a great career progression for me. I've just newly moved to Canberra, so made some great friends and great colleagues, and I hope that the relationship continues after March, so we'll see. But onwards and upwards, 27th of Feb is our annual Sport for Women Day. I don't know if any of you have heard of that before, but this year we are taking a different stance and we are having 3 events on the same day. So a lot of preparation for me, but on the day we have the 3 events, and they are all going to be, well, 2 of them are going to be held here at UC, so thank you, Stephen. We've got the Schoolgirls Breakfast, which is kicking off at 8 a.m. Here in the Anne Harding Centre, and Jess will hand out some leaflets about the ball, but we've also got some leaflets at the back of the room. I probably haven't got enough to go around, but if you do want any more, you can find some more information on our website, which is sportforwomen.com.au. But the Schoolgirls Breakfast is essentially an opportunity for local schools to come here and interact with sporting stars, local sports stars, and also sports administrators. And what we're doing is, rather than having, I guess, a talk fest at students, we're wanting students to be inspired and creating a sports legacy. So we want these girls to come along and say, hey, you know, if I'm not going to be a elite sports star, I'm 14, 15 years old, what can I do? How can I stay in sport? And we want to really, I suppose, give these girls some sort of idea of what they could do after they finish school. So we'll also have a careers expo, which will be taking place in the next room. And if anyone also wants to be involved in that, do come and speak to me afterwards, because we are looking for, I suppose, companies and for individuals who are related in sport to come along and speak to these girls and inspire them at some sort of level. So thank you, Stephen, again, for providing us with these fantastic facilities. And then we have the Agenda Sports Conference. So Catherine, as Heather mentioned, has been on the advisory board for that, as has Heather, as has Carrie, Rebecca, and a few others in this room. And that is sponsored by the ACT government, the Australian government, ACT Sport, and the Canberra 100. So that is something that's going to be totally new. It's not going to be a talk fest. It is 10 till 4 in the Inspire Centre, and it truly is, if you haven't been there before, great facilities. We've got podcasts going on. We have interactive day sessions. It's not going to be, as I said, like the Talk Fest. It's engaging workshops, and it's for these elite athletes to come along, build a career. We'll be helping them build websites for themselves, talking about sort of athlete management, how they can inspire these young girls, and how they can also, I suppose, create a longevity in their career. We've got not only the workshops, but we are recommending, I suppose, legislation, well, hoping to present to the Federal Sports Minister, Kate Linder, who will also be there. And then that leads on to our dinner in the evening. That's at Parliament House. There's lots of these leaflets, and Jess is handing those around now. And we've got Australia's Top 100 Sportswomen, which is an award that we'll be announcing there. So do have a look on our website, and that's sportswomensball.com.au. You can register online there, and we'll have the Sports Minister, as I said, Chief Minister Katie Gallagher, and the Honourable Christina Keneally, and obviously we'll have all of the sports, I suppose, elite sports stars, or hopefully all of them, rocking up, and it should be a fun evening of dinner and dance. So, and that's at the Great Hall, Parliament House, 27th of Feb. So hope to see you all there, and if you have any questions, nab me afterwards, or go on to the website. But thank you again, and thank you, Stephen, for these fantastic facilities on the 27th.